What's going on, everybody? This is Ern from the Fire Resistant Podcast on Twitch. We stream Sunday, Monday, Tuesday from 8 p.m. to usually about 11. And, I'm starting the whole YouTube thing. I made a video earlier a couple weeks ago. Had a couple of random, crazy, I don't know how do I even say it other than like allergy. Like I had to do a whole bunch of stuff to see why this continuous cough was going on. So as you can tell, I did not do anything. So it'll be interesting to see how this my room progresses, because like we're gonna put, I believe, this up with a couple of other art stuff that I've got going on. But the main reason that I'm doing this is to continue just figuring out ways to put out content that's more pop culture related. And then, Fred's going to take over the TikTok, and we're all going to be pushing toward Twitch until Twitch dies or we make a full transition to YouTube or whatever happens with the streaming. But if you don't know, this is the first time that you're coming across Urnest Opinions, or even never heard of Fire Resistant, we are a Christian talk show on Twitch. We talk about everything from wrestling to Jesus. Like, our goal is to build a community of believers and non-believers that just sit around and talk about life. So the way the chat goes is we start off, maybe talking about like Kevin Owens, and then all of a sudden, we might get into car related stuff. We may get into guns. We may get into political stuff. And then, of course, the ultimate goal is to, present and defend the gospel of Jesus Christ. So with that said, this week's episode of Urnest Opinions, there's been a brash lately, probably for the past, maybe 3-4 years, at the beginnings of this whole woke culture that has been plaguing the entertainment world for a while. And it's finally I think it's coming to a head. Top Gun, the first video I did was Top Gun versus Obi-Wan Kenobi. We're not going to get back into that, but like, you have this movie that shouldn't have done anything other than just work off of nostalgia, and then you have Kenobi that should have worked off of nostalgia, but then like been the biggest thing ever. Same thing with Thor. Thor should have been this big, huge movie. It turns out that it wasn't, because it was terrible for a variety of reasons, not just the woke ideology built into the movie. But ultimately, today's topic is going to be we're going to talk about some examples, and then we're going to just kind of dive into the whole idea and the question that we're going to pose. And if anybody comes across this, you want to put comments down in the video, in the comment section. The question that I pose is, can Hollywood write a strong female character without making her unlikable? And we have two very recent characters that were introduced into the world of Hollywood, as far as like on streaming services. One is She-Hulk, and the other one was Gladriel from the Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power. I'm just going to call it Rings of Power. I hate calling it Lord of the Rings, because it's not. It takes place in the same world as Lord of the Rings, but it's just called Rings of Power. So you have two TV shows that should have been slam dunks, right? You have the MCU, which, the few of their movies, for the most part, in Phase 4 have been really bad, from a critical standpoint, from a monetary standpoint. And then you have, the TV shows, which, Miss Marvel apparently was the lowest viewed MCU TV show to date. And then now you have She-Hulk, and you have this new, both of these characters, Jennifer, was it Walters, I think her name is, and Gladriel, are two characters that should have been slam dunks. Like, you have the shows that were built based off of the trailers of these women that, we know who they are. She-Hulk is not a brand new character. She's been around for a while. Gladriel has been around for a long time as well. So let's dive down and let's dive deep into these two women, and then let's dive into some of the history, even in the world of the MCU. We have strong female characters that just are just likable. So let's go into the world of the MCU first. So we have Jennifer Walters, right? First episode comes into if you know anything about the She-Hulk character, you know that her origin is she gets shot, and Bruce, who is there, has to give her a blood transfusion to save her life. And because they share close genes, because they're cousins, her blood accepts his gamma radiation, and of course she becomes the She-Hulk. In this particular series, because of the way that Hollywood has to write things, she pulls the Hulk, right? She literally pulls the Hulk out of a car. They have a car crash. Spoilers, they have a car crash, and he's knocked out. Mark Ruffalo, who in Thor Ragnarok was in full human form, jumps out of a plane, hits the pavement, and then, survives that. He survives a massive fall and then turns into the Hulk. Well, in a car wreck, he seems to not be able to take care of himself. And she was able to survive a horrific car wreck and pull him out of, like, rip off a door. And this is before she's even turned into Hulk. She rips off a door, just a tiny bit of blood. She cuts herself in the arm. A tiny bit of his blood gets in a wound, and she immediately turns into She-Hulk. And so we fast forward a couple of scenes. I'm not going to dive into it too much because there have been people that have done videos that are far better at breaking down of whatever that she's got going on. But it culminates into the Hulk, because I'm looking at the character themselves. So she is standing. She has a lot of information that we're just going to assume is public knowledge, because she was talking about Cap's early days. That we've seen in other TV shows that people know things that happened between the Avengers and Thanos. There's so many things that the MCU has given us as far as letting us know that normal humans inside of the MCU have a vast amount of knowledge, that for whatever reason that they do. So that being said, it's easy to, if she knew and she had enough information to basically say that that Captain America was a virgin, then she would have to know that her brother's arm, or excuse me, her cousin's arm was jacked up because he snapped and saved everybody. Right? She would also know that he was in a relationship, not a massive relationship, but he was in a relationship with Black Widow. So you're talking about a person who was originally being chased by a government, lost his entire life. He was a highly intelligent human being, lost everything when he became a rage monster. He was able to find the inner peace, control the Hulk. Then, the Infinity War happens, the snap happens. He, along with everybody else in the world, lose everybody. Then he sacrifices his body, snaps his finger, and brings everybody back. So you have this conversation, this history between the Hulk and this She-Hulk character, brand new, and she's just so mean to him. I hate to use the word mean, because I guess the better word would be disrespectful. So it's super disrespectful to him the entire time that he's trying to help her. Like, the whole point of bringing her to that island is to help her control, which of course she already had control. Then she goes through this long diatribe of how men tell her what to do, how she's catcalled, and she infinitely holds her feelings way more than him, and just a totally disrespectful conversation that an activist put into the mouth of She-Hulk, because in that moment that wasn't She-Hulk, that was the activist writing. So you have these, and then episode 2 was more just unlikable things that were going on, the way that she seems like she has to endure life rather than just live it. And then in episode 3, just compounding of just being totally unlikable. And and it shouldn't be that way, right? She's got this power. She should be appreciative, just like most of the other characters are. And so she's just the point is like they wrote her to have the ultimate power of being a Hulk, but yet being totally unlikable. So the flip side of that is Gladriel. We have Gladriel. No, I guess not the flip side. The same, the same road. We got Gladriel. Gladriel is this character that we've seen in the Lord of the Rings movies, and the books is this stoic character who keeps her cool, gives awesome advice, and like the very first scene that we have with her, she's she's much more stronger than all the elf men. She's got so much of a chip on her shoulder, and she, like the actress, from the very first time that she's on the screen to the very last of the latest episode of episode 2, her acting ability is this. Right? I mean, like that's not cohesive to a likable character, right? In the world of wrestling, we call that, or it's called like a heel move. Like there are certain things that babyface good guys in wrestling don't do because those moves, those things are considered heel things. So even in the world of wrestling, there is a distinct between a good guy and a bad guy. So, you have Gladriel, who lost her brother, right? Trauma, right? Trauma from orcs. But, elves live thousands of years, right? They're not live thousands of years. They're immortal unless they're killed in battle, right? So, it's safe to assume, even though we were never told this, that every person that's part of the group that she's in has lost somebody, because they're all going to kill orcs, and she's pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. And of course, all the rest of the people in the group are men. They're all whining. They can't go forward. She's having to just constantly be on them. And then they get to this place where, we've seen in Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring, we saw Aragorn and the group go up against Cave Troll. It took every single bit of their strength, like literally after they killed the Cave Troll, they just laid on the ground. They're like, that was tough. She takes out a Cave Troll like all by herself. Like the Cave Troll beats up all of the dudes, and then she kills the Cave Troll by herself. No help outside of like a sword jump, right? Anyways, after she kills the Cave Troll, the men are like, hey, all signs point to no, it's time to go back home. She's like, no, I'm pressing forward. And they're like, hey, then you're going to press forward. Like all the men get together and tell the woman, who's already angry and dislikable, that they're going to go home. So, in the realm of this world, like everything's kind of respectful. So, they go in front of the king. She's ready to just give the king a piece of her mind. And the entire time that the king is bestowing the greatest honor that an elf can get, she's just smug. She's got this look on her face like she's about to tell the king off. The same smug look that Tila had in He-Man Master of the Universe when, she found out that Adam was He-Man and she lost her stuff in front of the king, right? This man who is the leader of all the elves, at least in Middle Earth, is giving her the greatest reward that they can get, or that they can give out, and she's smug about it. She literally fights it all the way to the point where she jumps off the boat. And then when she jumps off the boat, she needs help. And then the people that pull her aboard, she's smug to them. And then there's at one point where there's just one dude, and he's trying to help her up. He's like, hey, come on up here. And she's like just mean mugging him the entire time. Like can she not be appreciative of anything? And, there's just two examples of just two unlikable characters, which you don't have to play them that way. You can have a strong woman and be likable. So let's go to the MCU real quick, because looks like I'm already at 14 minutes. I didn't think the video was going to be this long. So in the MCU, when Black Widow was introduced, right? Black Widow was an informant who could have killed anybody in the room. Like when she's introduced and she walks in the room, Tony is signing over the company to Pepper, and he is practicing boxing with Happy, and she goes in there and she beats up Happy, and there wasn't like a disrespectful even to that, right? She did what she needed to do, and then as the movie progresses, she's very, very cut and dry, but like, and it still has all kinds of charisma. She has the fight scene. She herself does not disrespect Happy. The movie disrespects Happy because they have him fight one person while she beats up everybody. But the entire time that she's doing all this, and every interaction that she has is even in the moment where she is mad at Tony, where Tony is almost giving her up in front of Pepper. Like even then, we will collect you. Is like that's like an officer to private response. So you have, even in the MCU prior to She-Hulk and even Captain Marvel, you have women that are in there that are strong. I can't think of the name. Her name, the Peggy Carter's niece, right? Her name's Carter too. I can't think of her name off the top of my head. She was a strong woman, took care of business, very likable, right? She didn't get a lot of screen time. I think she's going to get a lot of screen time going forward. I just can't. But ultimately, like, she's got the charisma. She's strong, and that she can beat people up without being disrespectful. Likable. Siri is a strong, highly intelligent woman, right? That was written very well. Her and T'Challa, their chemistry together was just absolutely, that was the best part of the movie. I wasn't a big fan of Black Panther movie for an assortment of reasons, but the chemistry between brother and sister was awesome. So you have examples inside the MCU of women, even Pepper. Even when Pepper became president or CEO of Stark Industries, there wasn't a level of disrespect toward other characters within the MCU. So you have characters written prior to the woke culture that respected the other people. And then when you flip to the Middle Earth, when you look at Gladriel, the best example of a strong woman inside of the Lord of the Rings universe, because the Hobbit movies I don't know the Hobbit movies as much as I do Lord of the Rings, because I wasn't a fan of the Hobbit movies. But just in the Lord of the Rings, right, you have Arwen. Arwen was a woman who was kept down, right, because of the culture. She was kept down by her dad, but she was never disrespectful about it. She was always likable. That whole speech that when Aragorn was like, "What are you afraid of?" and her response was a cage, right? That whole diatribe that's in the book, the whole monologue that was in the book, was awesome. It was great. It's great talk. She didn't when she decided that she was going to go fight in the Battle of Pelennor Fields. She didn't make a big fuss about it. She didn't whine and cry. She picked up her sword and shield and a hobbit and went to the battle. And she had an epic moment. She killed some orcs, and if you've seen the extended cut of the movie, there's just some other things that she did. But she gets one of an iconic moment in the movie, right? You're not going, yeah. When she takes off the helmet and she's like, "I am no man," and she stabs the Witch King in the face, right? Whenever that happened, the first time I saw Return of the King in theaters, like, the people cheered. Like, we were all compelled to cheer because it was an epic stinking moment, because, it was, like, how in the world can, we knew what would happen, but like, as an audience, it's like, what are we going to do? How is this Witch King going to be taken down? And it was an epic moment. Arwen is another great, strong female character. She didn't do battle. She argued the case for Aragorn while he was away. She argued to get to get to get the sword reforged. So she wasn't a forefront in front of the camera all the time, but she was working behind the scenes. And when she was on screen, she commanded the screen. She was very likable, and she helped Aragorn, overcome the unconsciousness, if that's the best way to say it, when he fell off of the ledge. He met her in the dream world, and she encouraged him to get up and go, and he did. So they walked together, right? Eowyn with everybody else I said Arwen, but going back to Eowyn walked together, and even when Theoden saw her on the battlefield, he wasn't mad at her, right? So, but ultimately what it boils down to is you have examples of women that are both in the MCU and in Middle Earth that were written to be a part of the story and not be activists. They don't speak the words of an activist. They're part of the story. It makes sense to the things that they say. And I think Marvel is going to learn a very hard lesson. Amazon is in the midst of learning a hard lesson as well. They said that Rings of Power was the biggest opening. I'm sure that you're going to have people like me that were kind of disappointed with some of the decisions that were made that I watched the first 2 episodes just to watch them. Well, we'll see what happens with the ratings with episode 3. But, in the bigger picture, as we land this 20-minute ship, the bigger picture is you have characters like Ripley, you have Sarah Connor, you have a lot of characters, and of course they're escaping me now that I need to throw it out there. But like even the bride from Kill Bill, you have all these strong women characters that are very likable. Like Kill Bill, if it was made right now, would probably bomb in the box office. I don't know if Tarantino, let me phrase that, if Kill Bill was written by somebody else other than Tarantino and produced today, it would probably bomb because it would be just a woke nightmare. But ultimately, that's kind of like the first episode. I know that I went way longer than what I thought I was going to. I'm at the 20-minute mark, so we'll try and finish this up by the 25-minute mark, because of course we want to end it with I am Ern. I appreciate you watching the video if you made it this far. I appreciate you watching the video. If you would put some comments down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Is She-Hulk the greatest woman character ever? Is Gladriel the second greatest or first greatest woman character ever created? Am I wrong? Are they very likable? Am I missing the mark? But I am, once again, part of the Fire Resistant Podcast on Twitch. I said Fire Resistant Podcast on Twitch. I meant we are called Fire Resistant Podcast, but you find us at twitch.tv/Fire Resistant. We are a Christian talk show. We talk about everything from wrestling to Jesus. We would love to have you come in there and ask questions. No question is off limits as long as it is TOS, terms of service friendly. There are some topics that are not friendly to TOS, so we do not address those. We take on all comers as far as like chit-chatting. We love talking to new people, and we would love to see you there. And if not, you can follow us on TikTok as well. I believe it is TikTok/Fire Resistant Podcast, because I made Fire Resistant Podcast TikTok before we were able to change our name, or maybe it's Fire Resistant. I don't know. I feel bad. I don't know, because Fred's taking it over. But Fred is a co-host. He's got an epic long beard. He's a great dude. And but yeah, we're just building a community of believers and non-believers that just want to do life, talk about life. We'll pray for you. You don't even have to be a part of the community. You can pop in there and just say, hey, saw your video. I need prayer requests right now, and we will pray for you. But with that being said, we'll see you on Twitch, and then the next episode of Urnest Opinions will more than likely be on a TV show or two. because I like talking about things that I watch, and we can grow together. And you'll see all this change, because this used to be a storage room inside the house, a catch-all room, and I've turned it into a streaming studio, and we'll make it look a lot better. So thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next time of Urnest Opinions.